America has gotten a lot dumber over the years. And I don't say that in a disparaging way. I say it as merely an observation that could hopefully help us reverse the tide before our country becomes completely and utterly enshrined in a permanent, unrelenting state of idiocy. But I think the reflection of the dumification of America is perhaps not better seen in any circumstance more than it is seen in how our political media, the institutions that give us information, are supposed to be stewards of the truth, stewards of fact, when in all reality, they tend to be stewards of lies and vice who serve at the behest of powerful interest and are directly against the pursuit of truth and directly against the goals of the republic. These institutions just give us a window into how much the general American public is willing to accept, how much intellectual mediocrity they are willing to accept. And so in this video, I'm going to demonstrate the decline of the American mind. I'm going to demonstrate the decline of American intellectualism over the course of a few decades in clips. I'm going to start with a clip from the 1960s, a commentary clip from the 1960s, and I'm going to show you how that stacks up against a clip from today in the same genre, political commentary. And then I'm going to go to a news report and show you a clip from the 60s or the 70s or the 80s, and then compare it to a clip today. And then after that, I'm going to actually explain why I think you are seeing what you are seeing. So, let us view the standard television, the standard kind of program that was on American TV screens in 1960, 1970, just 50 or so plus years ago, as the posing of this video, and let us examine what is on our screens today. So, in the political commentary area, here is a clip from a William F. Buckley, one of my personal heroes, his firing line program, him interviewing Governor Jerry Brown.
Talking about what I consider to be a basic country, you say the American people will have their way. But the answer is that they can't have their way in a climate in which they want contradictory things. The first law of logic in anybody's religion is the law of contradiction, right?
Now, that's Aristotelian logic.
Yeah, that's what
There's
I said.
other theories. Yeah. Mr. Korzybski has what he calls non-Aristotelian logic.
I said the first
you
law
have
of logic.
Eastern logic,
3,000
which
years
embraces
separates
contradiction.
Brzezinski and Aristotle.
You have
That's why I
Mr.
said the
Whitman,
first law of
who
logic.
just embraces self-contradiction.
No, it's quite true that people live at different levels of rationality, and some even achieve heights from which a strange dialectical complementarity becomes plausible.
And I might say that
but it's also true that the average American politician is telling the American people every day that they can have two things that are irreconcilable.
Now, Jerry Brown was a uber-progressive, left-wing governor of California who served many different terms and many different time periods. This is back in the 70s, and he has done a lot to ruin that state, and I have immense worldview disagreements with Jerry Brown. But having said that, this discussion with people who have two different worldviews is much more refined, much more interesting, much more thought-provoking than a more recent example of political conversation that is blasted across our TV screens to no end.
This is not moral. We don't judge people by color in this country. That is racist. It's wrong.
Jeffrey, let me tell you something.
Crazy if you think we don't judge people by color in this country.
Every single day I walk out of my house, I am a black woman, Jeffrey. I don't have the luxury of saying...
Oh, it doesn't stop there. Don Lemon is just one specimen. Here is another example of so-called political debate, what passes as political debate in our modern era.
Your opening statement, which was how horrible it is, that Donald Trump is talking about all of these people.
I'm sorry, that's what you said. You said,
but you know
you
what's
said
horrible?
that
When
it
people
was,
who
it's
shouldn't
okay.
be here end up murdering the children of American citizens.
You know what's horrible?
It's also, they're also referencing the Twilight Zone, which has a very similar plot. That's what people are saying. I know it's preposterous, but is it preposterous, you think, Mary?
Well, it is. A black hole is about, a small black hole would suck in our entire universe, so we know it's not that. Bermuda Triangle is often weather, and Lost is a TV show. So
right. Insults, ad hominem, screaming, pure emotions arising from the depths of one's soul and overtaking them like a spirit possessing someone. That is what we see today in our current society. And the TV programs I just mentioned to you, I just showed you, at one point in time recently, or still have a lot of viewers, get millions of viewers, and they have a lot of, the important thing, cultural and social capital. When you say to someone, I've been on The View, or when you say to someone, I've been on CNN, they immediately step back, their eyes widen, and they believe that you've achieved something, that you are legitimate and you are an authoritative source, when in all reality, you are merely a specimen of ecosystems produced by the mediocre standards and expectations of our age that have latched onto America like a bad parasite and are draining us dry of every ounce of reason, every ounce of intelligence that we have left. Now, we should understand, how did this come to be? Because this didn't come out of a vacuum, this didn't come out of nowhere. There are plenty of reasons why the standard is now lower in American society for media and why political media is like this. We should understand, the media is simply a reflection of the people. Yes, the media most certainly is controlled by money interests, who oftentimes have a desire to conform your mentality, conform your worldview in a manner that is the most advantageous to their political ends. Yes, that's true. But the media operates in the realm of the social. And if the realm of the social is full of people who understand what it means to have principles, to have these sort of enduring ideas that go beyond your emotions and allow you to have a clear-eyed view of the world, who understand what it means to use reason and conformity to principles, using that as the engine to keep that clear-eyed view of the world clear and pure from distractions and from taint and from emotionalism, who understand what it means to have those two things I just mentioned in the context of a political union. If you have a social environment that is rich with thought and rich with rigor, then the media will look more like Buckley, look more like it did in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, than it does now. And hence, me getting to my point of why I believe this is happening. There's something called the Flynn effect. Essentially, a psychologist called James Flynn looked at American IQ test scores over time, and he concluded that around the early 1930s, American test scores actually began to gradually increase over the decades. During the era where Buckley was around and these other newscasts were happening, the American public, according to the empirical data, was much smarter, or had much higher IQ tests at least, which have a direct link with, obviously, intelligence, and not only that, but they're also a predictor of success, a predictor of one's ability to function in society. IQ is pretty important. It's not everything, but it's pretty important. All of that was much higher during that period. Now, Northwestern University recently came out with a study that said between 2006 and 2018, the Flynn effect, which was the IQ scores getting higher over time, starting in the 1930s, actually reversed. And now, from 2006 to 2018, in a study of over 400,000 Americans taken over that period of time, the scores have actually declined, and they have declined significantly. And of course, the examples of political media having this mediocre standard applied to it, being nothing more than vain emotionalism, entertainment mixed with the aesthetic of politics, actually having the substance of true and rational political discourse, all of that has occurred during this period of time in which the American public scores are going down, and the standards have been lowered also during this period of time. Now, some may say, Christian, this is quite reductionist. How can you say that the reduction in IQ scores lead to this? Once again, the social informs media. The social also informs politics. The thing about a republic, my friends, is that a republic is not a political structure that is based on the goals of the aristocracy, that is based on the goals of the intelligentsia. A republic is fundamentally connected to the people, but the politicians are the mediation point between the people and the government, because our founders understood that you can't have a system wholly directed by the people, because only a certain amount of people, i.e. the majority, would take control over those levers and then use them towards their passionate and oftentimes emotionally tinged ends, whereas the minority are oppressed and destroyed by those who happen to get power. So they said, you know what? We need to have a political filtration system, i.e. a republic, to ensure the minority is more protected than it would be in a system where the minority had very little say. Because morality is not about political or numerical proportion. Morality is about truth. And what system best connects to the principles of truth? Undoubtedly, throughout human history, and you can test me on this, it is classical republicanism, born in ancient Rome and refined by the Enlightenment and the American experiment that now exists and is the shining beacon of freedom around the world, even if we certainly have problems that we need to address to keep that reputation alive. And so the people, however, are going to, the government of a republic will reflect in the people. If the people have low standards, the government will have low standards. If the people don't really care to be rigorous in their thought, the government will not care to be rigorous in their thought. So it is epistemically significant to look at the relationship between IQ scores and society, because if you show me a society that doesn't care about rigor, truth, or reason, I'll show you a government that also doesn't care about rigor, truth, or reason, and ultimately will devolve into a morally chaotic force that sucks from the people and takes everything from them and doesn't actually protect and safeguard their rights as it was constituted to do in its original intention. That is why it is especially significant to recognize these trends. But also, something else happened during this period between 2006 and 2018 that is perhaps explains why these IQ scores have declined. Because it's one thing to state the problem, but it's another to actually explain the problem. The internet became this all-encompassing force around 2006, a little bit before that, that not only existed in society, but began to dominate every single aspect of one's life in interaction with the world, which it is certainly doing right now for many people, whether that be tangentially through the iPhone, or whether that be literally through virtual reality. It began in the mid to early 2000s. And neuroscience has already established that the phenomenon of the digital mind, which was produced by society going down this path, actually produces lower attention spans. It makes people not want to use their reason and their thought to deal with things. They want things quicker, like a fast food mentality. And not only that, but it decreases the patience needed to truly understand reality. Lower attention spans, not wanting to have rigor because it's too involved, and that would be too much for the digital mind. And also not wanting to understand principles that connect with reality. If you combine all of that into the social cocktail, what do you get? You get a disinterested society that primarily just wants to see entertainment. There are some folks who think my videos are boring because I'm not out here throwing red meat and I'm not out here screaming and insulting people. I'm trying to give you information in a way that is actually going to help you grow. But there are folks that are so interested to the food fights, to the trash, to the entertainment we've seen displayed on our screens that they can't really handle getting pure, undistilled information. They can only handle information presented with an outrageous and an entertainment-tinged way, which becomes not information. It just becomes a distraction, a diversion for the mind. Once again, this is the arena we exist in right now. The domination of the digital medium over the mind over the American mind, over the minds of men in the West, has been the single greatest destructive force in contemporary history to the human ability to pursue reason and pursue truth. Reason is no longer a value. Entertainment, hedonism, short-term gratification, these are held as values, even though they're not necessarily values, they're counterfeit values, but these are held as values in the minds of many people, and these are what are expected in political media and every other media people consume. My friends, we have a problem. But the problem can be fixed if we reorient our vision away from the short-term fulfillment that entertainment and chaos gives us, and towards the eternal principles of truth and reason that actually ground us in this world and allow us to live healthier, moral, and better lives, and also help us understand what kind of government and what kind of society can we have. If people thought more and felt less, not saying emotions are bad, but if people thought more and didn't surrender themselves to their emotions in every aspect of their life, you would see a different kind of media, a different kind of society, and you would see fundamentally a different kind of government. But until that point comes, we will continue to decline and get what we've been getting. But I have hope that all of you will join me in the revolution of the mind, in reclaiming the mantle of American excellence from the clutches of anti-intellectual mediocrity that currently have us in their grasp. My friends, if you like this video, comment, share, subscribe, donate to me on Patreon, PayPal, Locals. Help me get the message out there. If you want to talk to me, you can go to my Discord community, which is going to be in the comment section down below as well. I love you guys so much, and please, 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 stay pensive. Bye, guys.